Hello, my viewers, and welcome to another video. Today, I want to talk about a different topic completely, and that is football. But before we get into that, this is my YouTube channel. Thank you for everybody who's subscribed. I currently have 91 subscribers, which is an all-time high. I think I've increased by 10 in a week, which is very impressive. Thanks everyone for supporting me. And also the view count has skyrocketed, 97 and then 500, which is very interesting. Maybe somebody shared me and I blew up, or maybe I cracked the algorithm. I'm not sure. But today is about this, something called the wide false nine, my way of the game. This is specifically for people who know about football. If you don't, then well, you can still watch it. I'll try and explain everything. So, and don't spam the comments saying no, it's soccer, not football. Don't do that. That wouldn't be that good. 1 second. There we go. Should be good. Um, right. So the wide false nine, my way of the game. This is some housekeeping before we start. Formational notation rules. As you know, in football, there are things called formations, and these are rules of notation. You could probably read these yourself, but I want to explain them. The first thing is that the goalkeeper, or the person protecting your own net, is excluded from these numerical notations. Um, this is for people who are not uh, football fans and people who don't know football. So if you know this, then skip ahead. Um, The second rule is you start from the back line, the defense line. Start from the back when saying the formation layers. For example, on the right here, we have something called a 4-2-2-2, which means 4 players in the back line, as you can see there. 2 players in front of the back line, 2 players behind the front line, as you can see there, and 2 players at the front line, or make up the front line. So that is a 4-2-2-2 formation. As you notice, I've made 2 green lines here which separate the defense from the midfield from the attack. The defense is like, of course, the back line. The midfield is the middle, and the attack is the top. Anyways, um, more terms. These are more terms that you um, may want to know. These are very useful for those of you who don't know football. If you do, then once again skip ahead. Um, have some time to read this. Pause it. So this is the example of a 4-3-3 formation. I'm trying to use colors here. So the dark blue colors represent, first of all, disclaimers. I'm not actually a professional footballer. I just know a tiny bit about football, and this is a tiny bit that I know, and I'm trying to demonstrate it here so I can start discussions with people. Um, I just play casually, really. The dark blue represents the team that I would be on. The green represents myself, and the light blue represents the opponent's team, or the pale pink bluish thing. Um, so the black lines here that connect the circles or the players together, they indicate lines or layers of the formation. Here we're going from left to right. So um, if you imagine it this way, it's easier, I guess, but I'm imagining it this way because there's more space on the wide um, on the wider screen ratio. Anyways, um, on the back there's 4, and in the middle there's 3, and at the top there's 3. Similarly, the opponents who I've connected their players using these green lines. They also have 4, 3, and 3. The goalkeepers are obviously excluded, and you start from the defense or the back line. Um, that's the position where I would be in a 4-3-3, somewhere on the left. And for those of you who are wondering why I've put small letters into um, into the circles, those represent something. They stand for something. GK stands for goalkeeper, for example. R, anywhere there's R or anywhere there's L, that stands for right or left. Anywhere there's a C, that stands for center or central. I'll actually write that here. GK stands for goalkeeper. Um, R stands for right, um, and L stands for left. there, for those of you who wouldn't know. C stands for center, so I'll add that there, or central. C stands for central. These are obvious stuff, and then B stands for back, or in other words, CB would be center back or central defender. Um, and M stands for midfielder. S stands for striker, right? Striker is another name given to the central attacking player of the team. So to conclude this, the GK is the goalkeeper. R or L or C indicate where on the pitch, whether it's right or left or central. B, M, and S indicate the position of the player relative to the height of the pitch, right? The long side of the pitch, and the layers of the formations. So another thing you may be wondering is, why is one team's right back next to the other team's left wing? Why is the right next to the left here? Why am I flipping them? And that's because the two teams, as you might know, they are facing opposite directions when playing football with each other. So that means because they're facing opposite directions, the left and the right would also be flipped or inverted. It reminds you of, let's say you were at school and your teacher was, you were sitting in front of your teacher on like desk rows, and your teacher said, point to the right if you believe this, point to the left if you believe that. But it turns out the teacher was pointing to their own right and their own left, so you got confused. Or another better analogy would be, I'm speaking to you right now in front of the camera. I think the camera is flipping me 180 degrees horizontally. So because of that, when I point to my left, it looks to you maybe that I'm pointing to my right, and vice versa. That's why the sides seem to flip as you flip teams. This is what a 4-4-2 would look like for the dark blue team. I've kept the light blue team in 3-4-3, for those of you who would know. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know why I put that. Yeah, I definitely wrote the letters wrong, but well, who cares? There. That would be better. I'll just fix it. There. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3 at the top. And I wrote those wrong as well. Great. Lesson to you guys before making a video, prepare very carefully for it. Anyways, next slide. This is about the 4-2-3-1 formation. This is what it would look like, right? 4 at the back, 2 in the middle, 3 in front of the middle, and 1 up front. And well, ignore the light blue team. We don't care about them. They're the other team. So that was formational notation rules, and these are three formations that I've seen a lot, and forms of them as well. 4-3-3 I've seen a lot. 4-4-2 I've seen a lot too, but the 4-4-2 is being used less. The 4-2-3-1 is being used a lot, or a flipped or a derivative of that formation. The true reason I'm showing this to you is for you to see a commonality of where I am playing in every single formation. I'm always on the left here. Look, not in politics, please. No, we're there, always somewhere on the left. And this leads us to the next point: my preferred role as a wide false nine, and my position being left wing. So I need to dissect these words, and I have here. Okay, not this one. This one is related to something else. I'll delete that. You don't. Wide simply means on the wing or the side or the flank, which you've probably seen over there on the more terms slide. Oh, come on, Google Slides is not working today. That's what wide means. Someone who plays wide is someone who plays on the side of the pitch, on the wing or the flank. For those who are not familiar, a false nine though is a little bit different. I mean, a lot different. A false nine is someone who plays between the opponent's backline and the midfield. So if I went back a slide, if you notice me over here, for example, this green player here, oh, delete that. If you notice me, the green player, I'm just scooting around, right? I'll go to the previous slide. There. And look at the opposing team's backline, which is this, right? That is their backline, and that is their front line. In other words, the false nine position, or where they are located on the pitch, where they move around would be this space here that I'm moving around my character pin thing here. There, that is the false nine position between the back two lines of the opponent, and I'll explain why this is so effective later. Um, so yeah, a wide false nine is someone who plays as a false nine, but they're wide, so they are on the flank, they are on the wing. So I am a wide false nine. How should someone in this situation really play? Well, of course, this is false nine, and that is wide. So yeah, these are the areas of the pitch where I enjoy operating in. However, I also like to get in behind like this. Don't say that out of context, like that. But more on that later. Of course, in football, unlike in actual society, roles are fluid, or more fluid than they would be in society. So because of this, um, I would change depending on the situation, and I'll show you. So this, I'm going to change the colors. There. Um, the blue team, the blue circles indicates my team. The purple circle indicates me. I had to differentiate myself from others, right? In order for you to understand. And then the yellow is the opposing team. As you can see, that is yellow's the yellow team's right back and their left back. The reason their right back is on the left and their left back is on the right is because once again their team is facing towards us, so it would be their positions would be inverted. So don't be confused because of that. So this is showing basic wing play. As I've written at the bottom here, you probably can't see, but I'll read it out. This is what basic wing play is. It looks like this. So me, the winger, or the person on the wing, would get the ball forward like this, like that, right, into that position over there. And then what I would have to do as your typical winger is cross the ball like this into a striker or an attacker, a central attacker, or centre forward if you want, who would be in this position here, and he would be able to score a goal, right? That is what the most simple form of wing play looks like. The most simple form. If you take away derivatives and other stuff, just the wing play itself. You, the winger, take the ball forward on the flank, and then bring the ball into the middle, closer to the goal, where the person in the middle on your team can score. It's a very simple context. But one of the limitations of this kind of play is, what if because nowadays especially footballers are getting stronger physically, so it's even more of a problem now. What if your opponent's right back is strong enough to hold you in a way that you can't pass him? What do you do then? And before we go on to that, aims of a winger are to, number one, as I've written at the bottom, maybe you can't read it, I'll read it out. Number one is to overstretch the opposition. As you notice, these two wingers here, they are staying in extremely wide positions, which can force the opponent's wide players even wider, like that. And as you've noticed now, I have exposed a big space in this gap here. Look at this gap that I'm highlighting there. That's a beautiful space where this guy can come forward, or this guy can come there. And, well, that is one of the aims of wingers. Maybe not modern wingers, but, well, generally. Sorry, maybe not olden basic wingers, but generally, sorry. The second aim for a winger is to find space via switches or wing play. So here, your classic wing play would be you going forward like this and finding space there, like that, in this corner of the pitch, and your striker himself or the centre forward would find space there to be able to receive the ball and score. Of course, with these models, the opposition players are also moving in real time in real life, but um, I'm just trying to make it oversimplified in order for everyone to understand. Um, I need to mute my phone. I completely forgot. The third thing you should do as a winger is create a chance, either via yourself or your striker or another teammate, generally in the box. So that is very important. Please, as a winger, you have to create chances. That is your job. If you fail to create chances, I'll give you an example. This happened a lot to me as a winger. If you get the ball here and then you dribble it off the pitch like that and you take the ball out, you failed at your job. Your job is to supply the ball to someone who can score or to score yourself, right? Otherwise, you failed at your job, right? Um, I think earlier I was talking about stretching the opposition wide, and now I want to talk about that a bit more. When the opposition is stretched wide, I had said that it would create big space in the middle, and in other words, this person would be occupied here or there. Um, that is why uh, wing play can sometimes be effective because it stretches your opponents wide. It stretches them like you would stretch an elastic band to the point where they have a snapping point, or in other words, a moment of weakness in the middle here. Um, so yeah, that is the objective of wing play. Next, I want to talk about um, my most preferred route. This is the most, if I move these back to the middle, this is the most preferred or the most common route I've seen wingers take in amateur football, you know, the level of football that I play. In professional football, they either do this with the help of another player or they do something else called cutting in, which I'll talk about now. This is my preferred route. This is what I do in every single recent football game that I've played in. Of course, casual football with my friends. You know, not. I'm not professional enough to play for a team, just with my friends, of course. This is the preferred route for. It should be for any winger, and that is the phrase "cutting in." To cut in, it makes you more unpredictable. I'll explain everything as I go. So, um, before I say anything, here I have made a key for you. This key represents, well, specifically for arrows. What the arrows represent. Grey arrows represent you dribbling, or in other words, taking the ball at your feet and running with it. Um, Yellow would be pass, and blue would be movement off the ball. So this diagram basically shows what a winger, or what I, as a wide false nine, would do, or as a wide playmaker. So firstly, I would get the ball and take it to that area here, where this grey arrow was pointed to, which is there. And then I would pass the ball, fling it across to the right winger. That's what I love doing all the time. Because the thing about amateur football is it's easy to trick your opponents. You either need to be fast, or if you're not fast, you need to be unpredictable. Here, I think switching your play from one side to the other suddenly is unpredictable enough to fool any amateur opposition. When it comes to professional opposition, maybe this guy would be marking him better, so it would be harder, but it still works in professional games too. And I've seen players do it so many times, and I love it when they do it because that's what I do too. So after the ball is given to the right winger who's here, what I like to do as uh, because I don't have the ball anymore, what you have to do is find a good space, generally speaking. Sometimes that would involve staying still. For example, I've noticed Messi this year at PSG. What he does, right? Let's say he's given the ball to the right winger. What Messi does is because he is so good at finishing the ball into the net from afar. Most of his goals have been from this area here that I'm highlighting with my cursor. This area there. Um, so what the right winger would do is give the ball to Messi, and he would score from there. But the problem is, I'm not Messi, and I'm sure you're not. So because of this, um, you kind of have to adapt your play in a different way, and that's what I'm doing via. Sorry, not your play. Your positioning in a different way to come closer to goal in an important way. So this is what you do as the winger, or what I do. So after the ball has been given to the right winger over here, um, what I do is whilst the right winger is coming forward, whilst he's coming forward with the ball like that, right, and he goes to this position or whatever, what I have to do is make a run following this dotted blue line, this dashed blue line, into that space right there. All right, so now I'm here, and the striker does something similar, but more narrow instead of me. And I make a run for what we call the far post, or the post that is the furthest away from the person currently with the ball, from the ball. Sorry. So yeah, the right winger would take the ball into that situation. Ignore these two. balls. Some ball boys just randomly kick them onto the pitch, and then he would pass using these yellow arrows. You see these yellow arrows here? That, and that. Sorry, not that. These two yellow arrows. The ones, not that one. These two. He would pass the ball using those yellow arrows to either a striker or a left winger, and that left winger is me, and I happen to be right next to the goal, and I can score. The question is, how do you deal with um, vigorous marking? Marking is a term in football used um, to describe when someone blocks the pass from you, blocks someone from giving you the ball. That's what marking is. It's arguably a form of prophylaxis. Shadow marking is a thing that you can learn later. It's very important, but well, later. Um, so let's say this right back happens to go narrow. You know what the problem with that is? Well, look at this bit of space. Oops, not that. Look at this bit of space that he's just opened up for this guy, this centre mid, the central midfielder behind me to come and get involved in. Look at that space, right? Um, that is the thing about football. If one player moves to one place, he weakens another area, right? For example, if this centre back that I'm highlighting here, this guy, decided to go forward, the striker would be left wide open. If this centre back decided to mark the striker like that, this space over here would be left wide open there for the right winger to drive with the ball and shoot himself even. He doesn't even need anyone. That is one thing that's very difficult for defenders, especially nowadays. What attackers need to do in football is always find ways to position themselves in a way that they force the opponent's defensive formational equilibrium. They force it out of equilibrium so that it becomes disgruntled like this. Look at that. Look, what is that? It's just all over the place because the attackers managed to disarrange them. The left winger came to the middle. The striker came. This is why a lot of teams nowadays don't have strict formations anymore, especially when it comes to the attack. For example, I'll give you PSG as an example again because, well, how can you not give Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi playing on the same team? How can you not use them as an example? But they tend to, three of them, they play in a front three, like something like a 4-3-3, basically, like this, right? This except the difference would be that Neymar would be a bit back and uh, Messi would be a bit front, like that, right? That's the only difference. Sorry, Messi would be on the right and Mbappe would be there. Neymar would be there. The front three. All three of them, if you watch them play carefully, they always constantly rotate positions. They swap. They move around like this. They come back. They come forward. That is because they want to disarrange the back line of the opponent to make it look as ugly as this, right? What is that? That is not a smooth line because a smooth line wouldn't have worked for them anymore. Back there, let me just go a few stages back, right? If we go into this situation, um, if we go into this situation, right, their defense is able to stay in equilibrium in a very solid, rigid state as a straight line like this, right? I'm not saying you should play in straight lines in football. Yeah, you need to be a bit flexible, but this sort of formation is disrupted by the movement of other players. Not that the movement of other players. I could even go here, for example, and if the centre back chooses to follow me, look at this centre mid, how he can go there, right? Then you may say, what if the right back follows? Well, there's still a significant amount of space here that this guy can come and exploit, for example. That is the thing about that's one interesting thing about football. Space is time and time is space. As soon as one player moves, they weaken one area but strengthen another area. This reminds me a lot of chess, right? Because this is once again a channel dedicated to chess. I need to link this back to chess. When you move, let's say your piece is protecting one square, and then you move your piece to a different place of the board. That piece, its new location, it might be protecting a new square, but maybe it lost protection of its old squares because it moved. Similar here. This is, football can be very similar to chess if you look at just positioning alone. This is how my movement looks on the ball. Sometimes I do this, but it's awkward. I prefer to do um, I've completely messed up this diagram, haven't I? I prefer to do this where I bring the ball there, pass it to this guy over there like that, and I make a run there and I receive the ball at the far post. That's what I prefer to do. The one thing I forgot to mention, the reason I prefer to do that is not only because it makes me more unpredictable, because think about it, right? Just think about it for a second. If you're in this situation, right? It's obvious what you're going to do if you're there, right? It's obvious. You're obviously going to get your ball and pass it into the middle. That's all you can do. But in the new situation that I just talked about, this one, now you're here, right, and you have the ball, right, like this. You're much more unpredictable. Is he going to run forward? If he runs forward, oh no, I need to cover him. Oh no, is he going to pass it? Oh no, I might need to cover this. Oh, but then this space opens up. Because you're unpredictable, this panics the opponent. This makes them shift in ways that makes it harder for them to defend as an organized unit. Because if you keep adding more and more and more and more possibilities and variables into the game, right? This will force more things into the head of the defenders, so they have to think about more at the same time, so they become more overwhelmed. And because of this, it's harder for them to defend because they need to focus on 5 targets, for example, instead of 1. This right back needs to think, oh, maybe this guy is going to go there, maybe he's going to go there, maybe he's whereas in this previous situation, like this, right, your classic wing play. I'm not criticizing any classical, wingers, any traditional wingers, but it seems to be less effective in the modern day because your options are much less there than they would be if you cut in, and that's why, um, even if my right foot is the stronger one, that's why I play on the left instead of the right, because if I play on the left, it allows me to cut in. Imagine this is me, right? Let's say I'm over here. Imagine this is me, um, this guy, yeah. Um, and of course, I have 2 feet. This is my right foot. This is my left foot, of course. Um, Remember that my right foot is the strongest foot. So if I cut in, I can cut in using my right foot, right? I can cut in using my right foot, my strong foot, and I can use my strong foot to give a pass to the right winger using just with my strong foot. I don't need to make life hard for me at all. I don't need to use my left foot. However, here I am forced to. Let's say I'm in this situation. I am forced to use my left foot in most situations. Okay, I can use my right foot, but I would have to curve the ball with my outstep, and that would be awkward, and it would increase the error margin. Or I could, you know, turn my body like this, 180 degrees, and then give a pass with my right foot. If you imagine it, if you give a pass with your left foot, but then if you switch your body 180 degrees first and then give a pass with your right foot, you'll end up in the same place. Yes, I could do that, but that's counterintuitive and a bit long and unnecessary. I would rather do what this diagram tells me to do here, where I cut in from the left rather than staying on the left all the time. I cut in and then I pass the ball to the right, switch it immediately to the right. If I have space to drive forward, I will drive forward. But if I'm blocked, then uh, this links to what I said earlier. Nowadays, especially when I'm playing, the opponent that I'm up against, they're going to be bigger and stronger and faster than me. So rather than trying to beat them with what they are good at, pace, strength, agility, etc., I'm going to try and beat them with what I am good at, positioning, vision, and passing. Those are what I'm good at. So I'll beat this. Let's say this guy is much stronger than me. All I need to do to neutralize his strength is just pass the ball away from him. Simple. He's all the way there. What can he do with his strength? If he tries to use his strength to MMA knockout me and drop kick me onto the floor, then, well, yeah, you get the point. Okay, fine. Maybe when I'm in the penalty area over here, let's say I'm in this situation, maybe here strength is much more important for him because he, using his strength, can block the pass getting to me. But once again, I can use positioning to switch myself in a way that he finds it hard to follow me. Yes, he might be faster than me, yes, but if I confuse him, then his speed will mean nothing. That's why the modern game of football is it's changing in very different ways, psychologically and tactically as well. It's involving more unpredictability, and the consequence of unpredictability is that you have more options open at any given time. That's why I recommend for a winger, anybody who likes playing on the sides of the pitch, I'm not forcing you. I'm not saying this is better for you. I'm just saying what I would recommend is play on the side opposite to your strong foot because it allows you to cut in. Learn how to cut in. Watch football games where wingers constantly cut in and pass to the opposite side. It's a very common thing that they do in football. Learn how to create space. Study the game in a way that there's a YouTube channel called Tifo Football, TIFO Football. They, in one of their short 1 minute videos, um, gave a staggering sentence, something like of, their point was basically, of course, you can watch football by watching the game itself, ball watching the ball. But in order to, if you think about it, right, if you're in a typical 90-minute professional football match, 11 versus 11, 11 aside, each player, on average, will only be with the ball 4% of the match, right? That means 96% of the game is played off the ball. So it wouldn't make sense to just look at the ball, especially in professional games. That is how you can learn and be better at positioning and vision. That's how you can be the best player off the ball, perhaps on the ball as well, if you find a good position. Um, so yeah, watch professional games in a way that you don't just ball watch. Don't just Harry Maguire. The reason why he is struggling right now and before is because of his lack of awareness. He kept on ball watching. He kept on looking at the ball, and every time an attacker he's a defender, by the way, for those of you who don't know. Anytime an attacker goes behind him, he can't even tell, right? Because he's too busy staring at the ball to care. So don't follow Harry Maguire. Instead, look at the players and their positions. I'm not saying don't look at the ball at all because the ball is a thing that uh, goes into the net to help you win. But still pay attention to the wider game and not just ball watch. That's how you can improve your positioning. And that's how I improved mine and my understanding of the game too. So on to the next slide. This is how my movement off the ball looks like. So let's say that in this situation, I started with the ball on the left wing. In the next situation here on my screen right now, the right winger is starting with the ball, and he's somehow got the ball all the way up there. So um, what I typically tend to do, two options. I commonly do the first one, but I like the second one as well, and that is to follow these blue lines and um, basically, in other words, find a good space, right? That's very important. So I could go here, right, and wait for the cross, for example. Of course, offside rules exist. Offside exists, so I would have to be in line with their defense, and I'm good at doing that. I'm good at staying on side because I'm always constantly watching the defense. I'm never just ball watching during the game. I always look around. I try and make myself as aware of my surroundings as possible. And this is a beautiful space. There. That is a good space. I know it's not technically the false nine position. This is the false nine position. But sometimes I utilize the position in between the line, not between the lines, but within the line itself, right? So this space here is the space between the lines. This space here, which the left winger or the person representing me is currently on, that is the space within the lines. It's an important concept you need to know. The difference between the word between and the word within. Within is inside. Between is between two things, right? So sometimes I advise wingers and any attackers to use the space within the back line as well as the space between the back line and the midfield, right? Um, Try and switch between both. Don't be too predictable because, as I said earlier, unpredictability in a way that it doesn't confuse yourself. If it's used to confuse the opponent, just makes them harder. It just makes it harder for them to follow you. In other words, right? Anyways, um, yeah, that's how I would play as a winger. I not only do I, as I said earlier, don't be strict to one structure. Yes, the name of the presentation, the name of the lecture, if you want, that I'm giving is the title is uh, uh, wide false nine, but it doesn't mean you should always be strict to that position, and that's uh, because if you are, it will make you too predictable, right? So I would suggest moving around and, well, finding space where you need to. Be as flexible as possible. And flexibility is one thing that many systems of the modern game of football are revolving around. And now this slide is about why the false nine is so effective. And I think I've already talked about this earlier, but I'll reiterate it. If this, so let's say I'm over here, right? Let's say I'm off the ball. I don't have the ball. If the right back here, who is in this red space at the moment, decides to follow me like this, he decides to follow me, right, and block me from ever having the ball. Now look at this lucrative space that's opened up for two players here. The centre midfielder can go there, the striker can go there, and the problem is if this guy decides to come and block that space, then who's going to cover this space here? Who's going to cover that, right? And that leaves the striker with more likely an open shot, especially if the central midfielder has the ball. You can just give an easy pass and yeah, you get the point. So this is another example of why the false nine is so effective. I did that similarly with this green space here. Let's say the central midfielder were to follow me like this. This leads our own central midfielder to take the space himself, and he can shoot, or he just gets more space. And as my PE teacher a few years ago taught me, very important concept in football and in sports in general, is that space is time and time is space, especially in sports. I know you physics enthusiasts would be screaming at me when I say that, but hear me out. This concept is true in football because this guy, right? We can all agree that he has an open space. This central midfielder here, that I'm going to put his name in bold and italics. There, this guy. We can all agree that he has a very good space over here. But what are the consequences of this in relation to time? It simply means he has more time to maneuver with the ball if he wills to. So this is evidence that space equals time in football. If you have more space, you have more time to make your decisions. And if you have more time to make your decisions, it means you can use your space more effectively to gain more time. It's very circular, but it's also true. In this situation, the central midfielder just gets more time, really. That's it. And if the right back ever tries to press him, then look what I can do. I can just use my intellect to go there and wait for the ball to come in, and I can score like that if I want to. I've seen a few situations of that taking place. There. So that's why the right back can't do anything. He has to wait and let the central midfielder do what he wants. If this central midfielder comes, then he opens up the space for this central midfielder here, and he can take the ball there and do the same thing, but on the other side, and make it even worse for the other team, especially since the ball is much closer to the goal than it was when the movement started. So because of this situation, right? If the centre back, once again, if he tries to come forward, then who's going to deal with this space over here? Who's going to do that, right? This leaves him with an open pass and an open shot, right? So because of this is why the false nine is so effective. But then a common question I might hear that you may ask is, what makes the false nine? Because this can technically be said about, well, anything in football, anything. What do I mean? I mean any situation where you constantly change positions can create this type of play where you're so unpredictable and your opponents are scared of pressing you because they'll leave space behind them, and the people on the front lines are scared of pressing you because they'll leave space in front of them for your midfielders to operate. Why is the false nine? Why does it have this effect tuned up a tiny bit more? That is because, as I said earlier, a false nine is someone who's between the lines, not within the lines, but between them, right? This is a depiction of where I would be. The dilemma is who presses me, because I am between the lines. If I was here, within or in level, at the same level with this line, I'll use this right winger as an example. The non-false nine player. He is next to the line, so it's obvious who should mark him. Of course, this guy should mark him, right? Of course, this guy's going to mark him, right? However, here in this situation, if you switch back your attention to the left side of the pitch, uh, nobody knows who to mark him because he is between them, right? So these two guards are effectively unsure who should protect against him. Who? Because, well, he is kind of attacking both of us at once. If he's there, he's only attacking you. If he's there, he's only attacking you. So if he's in between, he is attacking both of you, technically speaking, or threatening against both of you. So you need to split the responsibility between yourselves. And because this right back here and this central midfielder here need to split the responsibility between themselves, this leads to even more confusion and even more unpredictability on for your team, and even more disarrangement of their equilibrated structures, right? Which leads you to these open spaces which you can exploit very easily. That's why the false nine is perhaps more effective, arguably, than your traditional number tens. Your not your traditional you know players that play uh, in level with the lines. Of course, both the false nine and your traditional play can lead to the same thing, but the false nine kind of arguably tunes it up a bit more. Furthermore, um, another important characteristic about the false nine that I forgot to mention is that um, they can drop deep in order to receive passes, right? Um, they're not only deep to create chances. By deep, I mean between the lines. They can also drop deep to receive the ball, right? And if I receive the ball in this situation, I put them in a similar dilemma, except, well, it's a bit less. But if I get the ball right in this situation, I receive the ball from the deep areas, then it comes back to what I was showing earlier with this diagram here, right? Let's say I was here, right? And um, let's say this guy has the ball over here. Let's say he's my left back, for example, right? As an example, left back, right? Or the defender on the left wing. If I'm all the way here, what I can do is come over there, further away from the right back, and in a way that the central midfielder can't effectively mark me because I'm behind him, and he kind of thinks the right back is there. So what I can do is drop deep, cause confusion with the opponents, receive the ball like this, get the ball, and do what I usually do, where I cross it to the other side and I make space on the what I switch the play to the far post, and then I walk to my own post, or the far post or the post which is the far post when I after I pass it, right? Um, that is one thing that I forgot to mention that false nines can do effectively. Of course, correct me in the comment section if I made any mistakes. So that's why the false nine is very effective, um, perhaps even more effective than your normal wingers. Here is a very important question because in the modern game, a common position that's being utilized is the wing back, right wing back, left wing back. It's a very complicated position, but in essence, it's like somebody who plays as a hybrid between a winger and a wing back. A winger is more attacking, a wing back is more passive. So a wing back is a hybrid between a winger and a wing back because, sorry, a wing back is a hybrid between a winger and uh, a fullback. Sorry, I used the wrong terms. A fullback is the wide defender, in other words. The wingback is the hybrid between the wide defender and the wide attacker, and the winger is the uh, the wide attacker, right? The wing back, in essence, is the hybrid once again. So, if this hybrid player, how would I play with the introduction of this guy here, this new position into the formation? Um, well, first of all, before we talk about that, you may have seen me. Sometimes I seem to operate as a wing back myself because I'll talk about it later. I tend to drop back into the defense loads of pretty much the whole game as soon as we lose the ball. Um, but here, how I play on the ball with wing backs. On the ball meaning I have the ball. So usually, what I do in this situation is use something called what I've written here. I've coined this term. I make my position more narrow. So I'm not quite a wide false nine anymore. I'm a little bit narrower. So I'm turning into your normal false nine. This would be a normal false nine position. I'm kind of in the middle between being wide and being narrow. So slightly narrower, maybe still wide false nine though, to be fair. So the reason I come narrow is in order to facilitate for the new wide player, which is the wing back. So he comes here, right? Um, in order to facilitate for him. And another thing that I do commonly, you can see when I play, is I like creating a flank overload. No, not overlord. I'm recording this very late at night, at like 10 p.m., so very tired. Here is a flank overload. In other words, this guy, this right back, the opposition team, he is overloaded because he is in a 2 versus 1 situation. He is the one and he is against 2 people. And it's much harder for him to deal with both. In other words, you can literally play dog. You can literally play dog with the right back. What I mean is, if you have the ball and sorry, I'll separate the arrow from the ball. If you have the ball and the right back attacks you or tries to get the ball from you, you pass it to your teammate who is wider than you. If the right back tries to press your teammate, the teammate passes it to you. Right? You just do 1-2s and 1-2s. That is why sometimes a flank overload or wide overload can be very dangerous because it leads to the wide attack becoming more effective because there's 2 people there instead of 1. Then you may say something like, what if they get in the way? Well, the whole point of me moving closer from there to the center was so I get in this guy's way less, so that the effect of him being there is higher, right? There's no, repulsion or like stickiness between me and him because I'm a bit further away from this wing back. That's what I usually do. I come narrow to let the wing back go forward. Or sometimes, rarely, you see the wing back come here and I go there. But then, to be fair, he kind of takes the place of an attacking midfielder. So that's a bit more of a rare situation. But it still happens in my games sometimes. So as I've written here at the bottom, I'll read it out. I've wrote that perhaps rotations are possible, as I've said, rotating positions between myself and my wing back, myself the winger and my wing back, right? So now the movement itself. This is the most common type of movement that I do. Of course, the first most common type of movement that I do on the ball is cut in from the left wing, get the ball there, pass it to the right winger, and make a run for the far post. The right winger crosses it to me or the striker, and one of us finishes it. Of course, that is the most common type of movement that I do on the ball and off the ball too, at least in order to start an attack. But with the introduction of a wing back, what I can do is give the ball to him and let him do the role of your traditional winger. Let him take the ball forward whilst I walk into this half space over here within the line, right? And he can pass to me and I can shoot, or he can pass to a striker who is doing the same thing as me. Or he can pass it to a winger or a wing back who's doing the same thing as me, right? One really effective thing that I found in football is that the whole attacking line moves together as a unit. Of course, we have to sometimes rotate around, but generally speaking, we should also, as an attacking, as the front three or a front four or a front two even, move together as a unit, like what they're doing now. However, one counter example to this is, what if I come in this space here? This is, once again, a false nine position. What if I drop deep over there in this space instead? Let's say the wing back has the ball. And wouldn't it be true that if the wing back passes to me, I have about enough time to take a shot on goal? That is true, but once again, I am not good at shooting. I like to be close to shoot. So, yeah. Next slide. This is the second thing that I really like doing. Okay, I've already showed you this. I pass it to him, to the right winger. Then I get into that position. The right winger gets there, the striker gets there, and then we score. Of course, the back line would have done something. The back line would have been here like this, but this just exposes even more space to a midfielder can even receive the ball from here. And you may be asking me, why doesn't this guy come and protect him? Well, in amateur football that I play, there's always going to be more than one person who's left unmarked. In this situation, it happens to be this guy in this oversimplified situation, and he can have a free shot on goal, or he can 1-2 and bully the opponents. If I go back a bit, another thing that the right winger can hypothetically do is get the ball and follow this trajectory, the trajectory of this arrow. What I mean is, you can get the ball and bring it across and oops, what did I just do? And around to me, who happens to be in this half space, right? And I can do, that is how true modern attacking football should look like. Constant switching of positions, whilst also moving forward as a unit rather than as individuals, whilst also confusing the opposition and being unpredictable and keeping all your options open. The only problem with keeping your options open is that you can also overwhelm yourself. But, well, you just need to play enough or watch enough football that you know in every single situation what to do. That's how I am in chess. In not every single, but many situations of chess, I know what to do without thinking, especially in the opening. Once it gets to the middle game and the end game, it's different, but generally speaking, here's similar. Yeah, that, and then how I play off the ball with wingbacks. Yeah, sorry, this was on the ball. This stuff was on the ball where um where I'm here, right? Sorry, let me go back a bit. There, where I'm on the ball. I start with the ball. I pass it to. I pass the ball to. To him, and then I make a run within the line, and then he passes it to me. Yeah, that's how I play when I start the attack, or when I start the move, whilst there are wing backs present. This is how I play when I don't start the attack, but there are wing backs present. So, well, the same thing actually, to be fair. Except the only difference is between this situation and that situation is that here the pass to the right wing hasn't been played yet. Here it has essentially been played without me playing the pass there, because the ball and the players are in the same pretty much locations. So that's how you can play with wing backs. I know it can be challenging because sometimes you and your wing back can compete for the same spot, which leads to both of you being half as effective because you're both fighting over the same place. But what I would advise a winger to do is come narrow. Don't be scared. Come narrow. Come to the middle, closer to the middle, and let your wing back do his job on the wing. That's his whole purpose. If he comes to the middle, then what's the point of him being there? He should just stay back and let your midfielder come in the middle instead. So yeah. Now this is an important slide because one thing you'll notice, first of all, apart from the fact that I'm talking about the other side of the pitch now, the other side, where now my team is defending, right? How I tend to defend, is that count all the players, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 attacking players in this slide, and in that slide over here without the wing backs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attacking players. How about the defending players? And you're going to see my point in a minute. So the defending players on this slide are the blue ones, and they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the defending players on the other slide, without the wing backs, are the yellow ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. So the difference here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, is that there is sorry, I've let me just there was a different situation. This is the same situation. I forgot to add the midfielders when I was creating these slides. That looks more like it because for each centre mid there's another centre mid. Yeah, same ratio of centre mids. Yeah, here in the previous slide there was 6 attacking players for 8 defenders. Here there are 6 attacking players for 9 defenders. I'm counting the goalkeeper as a defender, technically speaking, because he can rush out, and if the ball if the right winger, hypothetically speaking, ever got the ball here, right, and oops, tries to pass it to the striker here, the goalkeeper can try and come forward. Of course, it won't be easy for him, but I've seen it happen a lot of times in the past. Anyways, if we go back to this position, right, you notice the extra player. There's an extra player in the defense. What is that extra player here? And that has to be the left winger. In the previous example, there was no left winger back defending. Everything else was the same. Here, if yellows are defending, right? There's no left winger for the yellows. If he had a left winger, it would probably be over here, like this. This would be where his left winger is located. There, somewhere there. But let's say they don't have one, then it's different. But if they do have one, like here, this exaggerates the importance of a winger defending. You have to come back and help the defense as a winger, especially in amateur football and even more so in professional football. That is because without you, let's say you're all the way there, let's say you're not on the pitch for a second there. Without you, it's much easier for them to exploit the space behind your line and in between your lines and within your lines. But with the addition of one singular extra player, which is the winger, suddenly the right winger of the opposition can't really get in from behind anymore. Because, let me just dislocate the arrows from the players, because you are covering him as the extra person in defense. If he decides to come into this space, you can kind of let the left back follow him. You can let the left back follow him while staying wide yourself and preventing any other players from going in behind, whether it's an opposing left back, right? So that's why you as a winger coming back into defense is very important. Even the right winger as well will do that. Let's pretend that they actually listened to my tactics there. The question is, how about if they have, well, their own wing backs, right wing back, for example. I'll focus on one side for now. There. So there. The whole point of having two defenders on the left rather than one, which was in the previous slides, is that it's harder to overload you because you have an extra player. This is why one single extra player makes a big difference in football, and it can in chess too. That's how I tend to defend. I try and stay on the left side, but I always try my best to come back to help the defense, and sometimes even form like a back five or back six, or maybe form a wide midfield two in front of the defense to shield the defense in front of the midfielders if I want to. What I mean is this. So let's say this is the back four, right? That's the back four. Me and the right winger create a shield of the back four, and the midfielders. Me and the right winger shield the wide defenders, while the midfielders shield the narrow defenders, like this, right? This makes a lot of sense tactically because now that we're shielding each other, like an actual shield, we are much harder to exploit. Of course, the midfielders would have to prevent this guy from shooting. We are much harder to exploit. And I've seen it's very common. For example, in I think it was 2018 in the Russian World Cup. I think it was Iran playing against in their group stage. I think they drew to like Spain or something. I can't remember. Or did they beat them? Well, I don't remember. It was Iran against either Spain or Portugal. Iran played with two blocks of 5 players on each line, 5-5, as their defending structure. Just 5-5, nothing else. Simple, right? And well, this is kind of similar to that, except we're missing like 2 players. 6, 7, 8, 9. One player, which would be the striker. Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 at the back, and kind of like 4-3-2 if you want. This is why earlier, if you remember, if I go back a few slides, or a lot of slides, to there, I was showing different formations where I can play, including situations where there's a midfield 4. If I'm in a defense, I'll of course come back and help the left back, either shield him by staying in front of him, or going behind him and preventing the right winger, speed merchant, from destroying the left back, right? That is examples of how I would defend and how I oblige that all wingers out there try help the defensive efforts of their team out. It will make a big difference, trust me. If you are already doing it, then well done. Just try and, of course, we can all improve at any given point of time. In time, just improve your defensive capabilities. That's what I'm trying to work on now. So here is my attributes in terms of football itself and how these link to my actual playing style. So my strengths are these: acceleration, prolonged stamina. I'll tell you what I mean by these made up terms later. Dribbling, vision, decision making, awareness, space, and fallibility. My weaknesses are physicality, raw speed, initial stamina, on ball skills or on the ball uh, skills, clinicality, and aeriality. All this video is just past 1 hour, so I'm hoping that you enjoy. These are my strengths. Acceleration, which you already know what it means. Acceleration itself isn't speed. It's more like how less time it takes you to increase speed, to increase your speed. So to go from 0 to 10, for example. Prolonged stamina. This is a term I made because I don't know the scientific term for it. What I mean is your stamina after prolonged amounts of time. In other words, when you are tired, how long it takes you to reach your breaking point. However, here there was the initial stamina, which I would describe as once again a term that I made up because I don't know the scientific term for it. As I would describe it as the time it takes you to go from untired, if that's even a thing, to tired. And that time is less. But this time, the time it takes for my prolonged stamina to finally give up is a big amount of time. One of my positives is also dribbling. I like to take the ball in the different crevices of the opponent's vision too, as in your ability to read the game. Decision making, your ability to, of course, make decisions. Awareness, which is basically vision, but not just related to what you can see, but also how you can process what you can see. So vision is what you can see. Awareness is how you can process what you see. Space, I would say that's just, well, I didn't specifically say what about space. So what I mean is my ability to find space, my ability to create space, and my ability for myself and for my teammates. And what does this mean, fallibility, and why would that even be a positive? Fallibility is what I would describe as the tendency for you to get fouled, or the tendency for someone to knock you over in a way that is an offense in the game that gives you a free kick. My fallibility is very high, perhaps due to one of my weaknesses being physicality. My actual strength itself, my muscle strength, is kind of low, which makes it easier to kind of push me on the ground, and I'm more likely to fall down because of fallibility and weakness and physicality. So my weaknesses are physicality, raw speed, like actual speed itself, initial stamina, on the ball skills, clinicality, as in like my ability to score goals, and aeriality. Of course, accuracy. Sorry, in scoring. Maybe I should have written accuracy, shooting accuracy. There, that would be better because clinicality can also link to passing as well, and I have very good passes. They're not the best, but they're very good. And aeriality meaning your strength in the air, as in heading. And now I need to link all of these to my position, how they are good, and why I play in the position that I play in. So, remember what I talked about loads of times. Your basic classical, how I would describe winger, your traditional winger, how he has to get the ball far up pitch like this on the flank and then pass, right? Remember when I said earlier, one of my weaknesses is speed itself. I'm kind of slow. I'm good at dribbling, yes, but my speed is kind of slow compared to others. So it's easy to find a player that's faster than me and stronger than me. So because of this role isn't as suitable for me. I can still do it, but I would be less effective. To fully utilize my abilities, I would have to do this. Become a cutting in winger, essentially. A winger who finds space and opportunity via cutting in rather than staying on the wing for a long time with the ball, right? In other words, when I'm off the ball, I try to be wide, when I'm on the ball, I try to be narrow, generally speaking, not all the time. Um, that kind of helps with linking my weaknesses and my strengths to my role. Furthermore, um, well, acceleration that has nothing to do with my role. Prolonged stamina, yes, that's very important. Remember when I said that I tend to attack and defend and help out in both? I even said earlier that I can definitely play as a left wing back, or sorry, I would play as a right wing back a bit better, but I can definitely play as a wing back, right? Um, this is because of my prolonged stamina, my ability to uh, work whilst tired. In other words, my initial clock of energy has left me, so now I'm left with aching muscles. My ability to work in this game, even at that state, is high compared to others. Even if my initial stamina is very bad and it takes me less time to get to that disturbed state. Um, So that means I'm better at defending, or at least coming back to help out in the defense, whether I'm shielding my left back or going behind him and helping him not get overloaded by the opponent's right wing and right wing back and right back even. Um, because one of my weaknesses is, well, on the ball skills, that kind of doesn't help. But the positive of me being less flashy on the ball, in other words, I can't, do your Rabonas, and even step overs are very janky for me. The good thing about that is it means I'm less focused on skill and more focused on direction. Um, because human beings, especially males, um, aren't the best at multitasking. We think one thing at a time, generally speaking, not all the time, but generally. So if skills, my abilities to do skills have left my mind, then it makes it easier for me if you argue it that way. However, to rebuke that argument, you could say some people who are skilled have practiced their skills so much that it's natural for them. They can just, easily do these flashy things without even, thinking about it. So it doesn't occupy it occupies barely any space in their brain. So you could say that if you wanted to, and I would agree with you actually. Fine. So me having negligible skills, like actual skills on the ball, kind of doesn't help me. But also, it shouldn't make a negative impact because, um, well, that you don't need to do any single step over to take the ball from here to there and pass it, and to go from there to there. There's no skill involved. All you do is you run like 5 meters with the ball, or even less. Sorry, 4 meters of the ball. Give it to the person on the other side. Let him do his flashy skills, whilst you find a space at the far post. That's what I do. I don't. That kind of helps me. That explains why I don't spend too much time on the ball like your traditional winger would. If we go back to this, um, vision, decision making, awareness, space, all of these four attributes here, it makes sense for any winger because the whole point of a winger is to create chances from the wide areas. Creating chances, pretty much nothing else. Wingers, they can score by cutting in and shooting, but they are more of a chance creator than a chance converter. That chance converter is your centre forward or your striker or whatever you want to call it. Um, so all of these fit in well with my role, and if you're a winger, you really need these. You kind of do. Dribbling is good. All of these are good, but you really need these, and you need some sort of speed, a little bit of speed, which I have. I have the ability to run past the slower people, but anybody faster than that, even the mediocre ones, I struggle with. Anyways, my weaknesses. I already talked about physicality, but I haven't talked about how physicality and fallibility link to my role in positioning in where I play. And it's simple. Um, because I'm on the ball right now, it's very easy. Remember when I said earlier that false nines are so effective because they confuse the opponents. Think about this. Not only are they confused, not only do they not know what to do, they also have to constantly think, please don't foul him, don't foul him, don't kick him to the ground, don't do this. It makes it much harder for them to play because they are scared that I'll just zip past them and they'll trip me up and I'll just instantly fall to the ground at 5 meters per second to the -4. Uh, at that snap rate. So because of this, that plays in well with my role. Uh, Raw speed, that kind of doesn't help. but me not having raw speed explains why I don't play as a traditional winger. Initial stamina is definitely one of my weaknesses, and it doesn't help in any situation at all. But it doesn't mean I can't play in that role, so it kind of doesn't matter. On the ball skills I already talked about. Shooting accuracy. Um, Now this is the reason I'm not a striker, because I'm not the most clinical person when it comes to shooting. When it comes to passing, I'm very good because um, vision and all that. But shooting is much harder for me, and one of this has to do with practice probably, and then aeriality kind of links to physicality. That's why um, I don't play as a striker, because one thing that you need as a classical, traditional number 9 or a traditional striker is, well, physicality and aeriality, right? As this guy, because you need to outpace both the people around you, both of these guys, right? Whereas for me, all I need to do is uh, petulantly traipsy across here with the ball, of course, at my feet, take it there, oops, take the ball there, and make an open space in a place where I don't even need to use my weaknesses in order to score. I can use my strength, which is positioning. I can position myself like there, for example. Of course, they might follow me, but then they leave a space behind them. Of course, this person might follow me, but I expect the midfielder to utilize the space that this other midfielder left over behind, in front of himself, right? So that's how I try and play to my strengths. Don't try playing to your weaknesses. You have two options. You can either play to your strengths and ignore your weaknesses, or work on uh, work on your weaknesses in free time. Actually, those two options, what am I saying? They are mutually exclusive. You can include them together at once. So yeah, um, if you have any weaknesses, try and work on them. I can't because I'm busy with school and studies. But um, if you are like not during like your exam period yet, I would advise you work on yourself as much as possible, because after you won't have time and you'll be in my situation where I have virtually no time, right? So I hope you enjoyed that one. Um, to conclude, I talked about the basic newbie stuff for those of you who are new to the channel and new to football. I talked about formations a bit. I talked about the wide false nine, wideness and false nineness, if you like, and how a traditional winger plays and how I play as a winger, how I cut in. I also talked about um, um, how I play when I don't have the ball. When the other side has the ball, I do this. Actually, one thing I forgot to talk about is what if this midfielder here or this midfielder here has the ball? Well, I do the same thing really. It's the same thing. I just wait for a free ball to come, or find a space whenever appropriate. Same thing each time. It's always the same formula. I talked about why the false nine is effective and how it could be more effective than even traditional, number tens. And I talked about a concept of the difference between the word between and the word within. I talked about how I play on the ball when I start the attack with wing backs. Sorry, I keep skipping the G. And then another way that I play with wing backs. Um, which is in other words completely ignore them, but how I play off the ball with my wing backs and how I defend, and then my attributes, my strengths and my weaknesses, and how they tie into my roles. So if you enjoyed that video, then thank you. If you didn't, then tell me why, and I'll try and improve it next time. Of course, I have terrible editing skills. I don't edit my videos at all because um, I don't edit my video because I like the reason because is because YouTube, right, is a platform where the whole reason it became popular in the first place is because it was detached from corporate TV, right, from television, from cable. It was detached from that. In other words, YouTube is a platform where it's for people to speak rather than to distribute mass-produced scripted content. And I'm not against mass production, and I'm not against scripting, but generally speaking, that's why YouTube is popular and why it kicked off and why it didn't die and get replaced by TV. Anyways, this is my channel. Thanks for once again subscribing to me. If you haven't, then you don't really lose anything, do you? And I hope to hit 100 subscribers. Um, of course, I can't put the expectations too high because then I'll be disappointed if I don't reach them. Um, according to this data, perhaps I can even get it in the at the end of the month, even the end of the year. But my aim is about 3 months because I don't want too high expectations for a small channel. Thank you all for watching and have a good day. Please introduce feedback. Please start discussions in the comment section. That's what it's for. Just keep it respectful and you should be good. Thank you.